Well, Lisa, we haven't seen each other since we were in Rwanda together. So that was an
And
amazing trip. What has it been, a week since we've been back in the States now?
yeah, like 10 days, which that's flown by too. And just recovering all last week was rough on the body, but I'm feeling really good this week. And
Good. What were your key takeaways so far? I mean, I know it takes time to process an experience like that, but I guess how are you acclimating back to culture in the US and just like takeaways that you gained from being in Rwanda for about 10 days?
yeah, some things that come to mind, like sweating the small things. I don't even feel the drama or the doom and gloom like of something small here. Like it's tiny, doesn't even matter, like doesn't phase me. It's like, okay, whatever, like not a problem, no
Not
problem.
Chiwaza. Not a problem.
Yeah, and just like the things that we have, the luxuries as a flushing toilet, clean water, um just those things, I appreciate more. I do get irritated with my children when they're fighting over toys.
Yeah.
Mine. I'm like, you guys, there's people in this world that don't even have toys. So that we're positively working on with them and sharing more, and just everything that being a mom has and with kids. But just I'm more appreciative of what we have here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm still struck with all the visions in my mind of very little children running around the side of the roads there and just seems so joyful and like playing with, maybe a tube from a wheel, spinning it, or just with each other.
Yeah.
Just there's so much joy and so much they seem to find to do and adventures, they have. And you
It's
never
like
see kids there sitting on their phone. Not that that's
phones.
bad, but it's like, get
Right. No,
outside, guys. Can we get outside and run around again?
yeah. And it's like when we went over to Daniel's house and you introduced the electronic toy, it's like his attitude shifted. He was more like, that's mine.
I
Like
was like, this is a mistake. Yeah.
a
I
little
mean,
bit like, yeah, like interesting to just see the
yeah.
introduction of technology and toys and how it impacts kids. And those kids, yeah, they're really happy and
Mhm.
hello and all the waves and the big smiles and
Mhm.
joy that you can see. And I was impressed too with, as we're driving down the street, how the kids just stay in their lane. And like, I know my kids would be running all over and we'd be like, get out of the street, and they do what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you recommend the trip to everyone, or do you think there's certain things people should really have a heads up about before they get serious about doing it?
Yeah, I think if they haven't traveled before, then it's hard to. I had some traveling experience, so it was scary, the thought of going away for so long without seeing my family, but also too, just like I haven't traveled like that in a long time, and so it was kind of like riding a bike. You just do one buoy to a buoy to a buoy, like, okay, I'm here at the airport, then it's just like all the steps. But when you think about it, like, oh, I'm going to go all the way to the other side of the world, it's a little scary. So if you haven't done any traveling in your life before, that's something to just, those fears are expected and they go away really fast as you're in the motion and just taking action and doing each moment to moment to moment. There shouldn't be anything to be afraid of. But
Yeah. What did you think about like the quality? I mean, even just basic needs, right? Like food, sleep, sense of safety. Like, do you feel like you had what you needed in those areas, or?
yeah, definitely. The first day, I think I told you, the first night at Step Town was brought me back to when I went to Bali and stayed in in a really small, like just the accommodations are different. So, you know, it's different types of sinks and toilets. So it's not like your Hyatt hotel here in the United States. It's a little different. So you just have to be okay with knowing that things are going to be different.
Yeah, power outages and
oh yeah,
Wi-Fi connections in and out. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Bring a flashlight. In case that happens. Yeah, one of the power outages happened when I was going to the bathroom, so that was fun.
Yeah.
And I noticed I didn't freak out. I didn't
Yeah.
spat out. It was like, okay, I stayed calm. It'll be all right.
So
Oh,
Lisa, do you want to introduce yourself and what you do and kind of one of your interests for going on this trip and working with me
yeah.
and how
So
we came together?
yeah, so so kind of this coming March will be 2 years I stopped drinking alcohol, and I did it during, and I didn't intend to do it, but during the 75 hard challenge, I replaced my evening wine with drinks of tea. And so tea was my replacement drink. And at the end of 75 hard, I decided I didn't want to drink anymore. I felt too good to go back. And so I ended up just choosing day 76, 77, 78, and it just kept going. And then I finally made the decision, you know, I don't want it at all anymore. And in that, I was on LinkedIn and I connected with someone that was a mutual friend of ours, and I didn't know it, but it was through a logistics networking group that I'm a part of. I'm in the freight and transportation business. And so I saw, actually, I think it was this orange label pop up on the screen, Sarilla, and it caught my attention. And I'm
Cheers.
I'm like, what is that? That's cool. And you know, I've kind of had my eye open to some fun, low sugar, you know, not a whole lot of processed things put into it beverage. And so I clicked on it and started getting notifications when you would post, and I ordered some product, and then I saw you were on a podcast, and I decided to listen to it one Saturday night, and just it was just like this moment of, holy cow, I have to meet this woman. I love your mission. And the things that caught my attention was your story of trauma and your experience, and then how you just felt so connected to the women when you saw a documentary on genocide and what they've all been through. And it was like I was feeling that I don't know, it's like I was feeling some sort of something by you sharing that story. And I resonated with it. And I just sent out an email saying, I loved what you were saying about helping young women to follow their inner voice. And I felt like I was not just discovering, but feeling like, yes, I am going to listen to that inner voice. If my inner voice, it had been telling me for years to stop drinking alcohol, but I was more awake to it and just follow that inner voice. And so when you said that about watching your sons play on the video game, you were like, there has to be a change. Like, so I just love that because I have 2 young girls. And so I was like, I love Sarah. I gotta be her. We just connected on email and did a Zoom call. And then you just said, hey, based on your interest, we're doing this crop to cup tour. I had never had any inkling to go to Africa, but I was open to what the universe was bringing my way, and talked it over with my husband. Decided to, well, then we met in Chicago at a Pack Expo.
The Pack Expo, yeah.
And I was still thinking about joining you.
I was impressed. You just, what is it, like a week before, you're like, I'm coming. I was like, wow. It was kind of spur of the moment for both of us, because I didn't even decide to go until probably 4 days before the event. So yeah, that was amazing to have you there for that moment.
Our babysitter was here, and she's like, do it, book the flight, we'll get the girls
seriously, because a lot of people say they're going to do something like that, and that to me showed like what a commitment, like you're willing to take a chance and a risk. And I'm sure there were other reasons you wanted to go, but that to me just said, like, you know, if you're willing to make an investment like that, then I am too, and let's explore where this could go.
Yeah. And so took a lot of courage and talks with my husband, and decided to booked my flight. And that's the action of like, okay, the commitment, right? Like you can always miss a flight, but like when you've thrown money on it and booked a flight, and it's like, okay, I'm going, we're doing it, and just put everything in motion, went shopping, got the things I needed. And
For Rwanda, we're not talking about Chicago anymore.
right, yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, just the time commitment, right? You're an entrepreneur, you're busy, run your own business, mom of two, like to make not only the financial investment, but the commitment to step away from the life you have in the States in California for a couple of weeks is really brave. And I think a lot of people put off what they really, really want to do, or they have a story of being too busy, not having time. And it's just not true, right? Because we can make time for what we really want to do. It's really our choice. It's not, our schedule doesn't control us.
It's making the time blocking. And I do have a lot of ideas, and you and I chatted on some walks about all the ideas we have. And for me, focusing in on very specific, yes, freight, transportation, logistics. I've been in the business over 15 years. So I know that that's like, that's the core business, but then I want more from that. And part of that was connecting with companies like yours, like-minded individuals that are doing good things in the world. And so the trip for me too was just exploring that further. And I know we'll talk more on this call too, but just the whole herbal side and what that could mean. And so it's just part of, it's like we're in month 2 now of 2023, and I'm getting more and more clarity every day on where I'm going and why, and it's exciting. So thank
Yeah.
you for
Yes, you're welcome. And
your travel
I
time.
know. Thank you for being such an awesome travel buddy too. Like you never know. I mean, you just were so go with the flow, and it was it's such a great team that we had, and really fun. And I think it was my 11th trip since living there in 2009, and it never ever gets old or boring. It's always different. I mean, there's certain things that I love to do every time, but I love getting to see the place and the people through your eyes and new guests. And I think there's a saying like you can't go to Rwanda just once, because it gets under your heart and under your skin and in your heart. And it's everyone I know for the most part who's been is like, trying to figure out a way to get back. So I'm excited that, we're building this partnership with the freight and with Sarilla and moving product around. And it's such I like that what caught my eye about your LinkedIn profile is the freight is fun slogan. And you talk a lot about that. And to me, like freight is fun now, but I would say my perspective on it used to be like, I guess, boring, like annoying, like confusing, overwhelming, like so many moving parts and so many people involved. And my goal with Sarilla, and even before working in fair trade, is like, how can we create the shortest possible supply chain? Partly so that it's really transparent, we can monitor it, we can, know what's happening, partly for financial reasons, like the more margin we can give to the farmers, the better, for a company, the better, because we want to do good things with that money. And so sometimes the supply chain gets so long and so complex, especially with international trade and global supply, that it's just, I'm really happy to have, this personal connection with a freight company now, because we were managing before, but it was still like, there were a lot of question marks, and I know a lot of CPG founders can relate to this. It's just like, they sometimes turn over the whole thing to a third party too. And I don't always think that's the best idea, because we do have to understand how it works. And to me, it seems like your company offers support for that education part as well.
Yeah. And every rep's different. And for me, like I do love working with the small to medium-sized businesses that look to us as an advisor, and we can come up with solutions together to always improve and be very transparent. That's one thing that I'm all about. And I'd be happy to, anything that you want to know and figure out ways to shorten the supply chain, be happy to explore that in the future with you.
Yeah. One thing I think we could probably really help a lot of people with is maybe we can't answer all this in the next few minutes, but there's a lot of founders I know who come to me and ask, like, how do we even find our supply partners? Because they don't even know the first thing about identifying a supplier, especially if they're not in the States. Like, let's just take juice for an example. Like most juices and beverage, like actually is sourced from outside the US. And it can be really complex for freight too, right? Because we've got like refrigeration involved potentially. We've got all kinds of certificates. It's usually packed in drums and usually requires an appointment for trucks. So I know there's consolidated supply houses in the US that a lot of companies buy from. But for me, part of our business model, as you know, is working directly, as direct as we can with the farmers. And sometimes it's not possible because maybe they don't have the certifications or inspections in place, or maybe they're not ready for export. And that's where, with the farmers that you met at Ubuzima Women's Cooperative, we're helping them to get ready for greater volume, greater export, making sure all the paperwork's in place and that they know how to get their product from the farm to, to the port. Well, first to the truck and then to the port, and then making sure by the time we get it here in the US, we've got all the paperwork we need from them. So, it may be a bit complex, but I think for any business that wants to build a relationship more closely with their supply partners, it is possible. And I'm happy to help on that level, just identifying like what are the questions that we need to ask them to make sure we can even bring the product in. And then we would turn it over to you to help with the logistics side.
Wow. Awesome.
What were you, what did you learn, I guess, while we were in Rwanda? Especially we visited one of our co-manufacturers there, Tony and Get It. Was there anything that you learned about maybe the complexities and nuances of international freight, export, import, that you didn't know before the trip?
I don't think so. I think the learning will come from the doing, like on live shipments. That's how we learn best, right? Like learn by doing it. And so going through, and if there's a live load to work on, and that's where, oh yes, I know how to do that or XYZ, but the learning will come from actually doing it. But I mean, I know that Rwanda is landlocked, so they're big on the trucking. So it's like which port would be the most efficient, and it depends too on the international partners and where their strengths are, as far as the best way to get the freight in and out of his area.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could leave anyone watching this before we close, maybe leave them with, number one, a way to contact you, but also let folks know, like, we are putting together some shipments from Rwanda and maybe a few of the products that we're able to bring in. So we could talk just for a minute about the teas that you got to taste and experience at the tea gardens, but also at the herbal farm that we're working on bringing into the States. And then, there's also the opportunity for consolidated containers, right, with other kinds of products. So for people who are maybe sourcing artisan goods, like some of the baskets or coffee, we could consider putting a container together.
Yeah, and the bags,
the
women's cooperative
fabrics.
I've been using my purse everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we just overnights. Yeah. So bags as well. And the bulk tea, the blends.
Yeah. Do you want to cover those, or should I?
Go for it.
Okay. So from the northern province of Rwanda, we're sourcing fair trade certified. We also have the option of getting organic and Rainforest Alliance certified white tip teas, silver needle teas, green teas, Black Ceylon style teas. And for me, I purchased loose leaf, which is a full cut leaf, but you can also get CTC, which is finer cut leaf. So if you're working on a blend that you want to put into a tea bag, the green and black teas are really great also for kombuchas and gins, for other beverage manufacturers. The quality is very premium. Rwanda is winning awards in East Africa for the quality of the tea, the flavor profiles. We can ship out samples of product we already have warehoused here in the US. So you can email me, Sara@drinksarilla.com, for samples. And then from the herbal farm, we have right now, actually warehoused in North Carolina, we have what we call the Resilience Blend, but we can offer private label for that. It's a blend of Tulsi, lemongrass, and oat straw. It's all grown using regenerative farming techniques and organically processes. And then we also have hibiscus. You can get straight lemongrass, straight Tulsi, mint, rosemary, and we're growing chamomile now, which is delicious. I'm so excited. We're doing a new blend in Rwanda with chamomile and Tulsi, which really helps calm at the end of the day. The Tulsi supports your adrenal system. It's an adaptogen. And then of course the chamomile really helps with a good night's sleep. And I should mention that the women we work with in Rwanda have their own brand of herbal teas there. So that was a big part of our trip, is helping them to, really build out their brand, refine the blends, helping with sales, marketing skills, and presenting to new accounts. And I'm really excited about supporting them with their own brand building in Rwanda and eventually East Africa, because that's where farmers can really benefit the most, when they're part of that last mile profit margin, the sales and the marketing piece. So they are owners in that business.
Yeah. Herbal teas is something I'm a huge fan of, especially after this trip, but it was the best. That Resilience blend was the best herbal tea I had ever tasted. And I just had a cup of it this morning. I actually have it right here. It's so good.
Yes, it's so good. It's good cold too.
Yeah. So I I ordered a bunch while we were there, and packed it in the suitcase. So
yeah, you brought some great stuff. Did you open your store yet?
My little shop, little taste of Rwanda here in sunny SoCal.
All right, Lisa. Well, thanks so much for taking time today, and can't wait to build this business out with you. Let's go 2023.
Woo!
Yeah.
Thank you. And you guys can I'm on LinkedIn. You can send me a direct message, Lisa Petty, and shipping simplified is the motto. That's the goal. Try to make things as simple as possible for our customers. So.
And I'll put all that in the notes as well. Thanks, Lisa.
Bye-bye.
All right, I'm just